Hello and welcome to the Two Dyspraxics, episode number 8. I'm Matthew Munson.
And I'm Barbara Neill.
And today we're going to be talking about communicating and the art of communication. Perhaps not entirely in the way you think, but it's got a two-way process we're thinking of, isn't it?
Absolutely, because not only is it about the difficulties that we may have communicating with other people as dyspraxics ourselves, but it's also about the way other people communicate with us when they know that we're dyspraxic compared with when they don't know we're dyspraxic. The two very marked differences.
Oh, very much. I think
be.
Both of us have noticed actually in the past, well, even up to the present day, actually the difference between attitudes and communication styles that people will have towards us as dyspraxic and kind of visibly, dare I use the word, normal.
Yeah, go on.
I hate the word, but kind of neuro-typical, seemingly all the same, and actually the fact that we're not, there is a real difference, isn't there, sometimes?
Most definitely, because we can get away with quite a lot. When people don't know that we're dyspraxic and they can't see that there's, I was going to say anything wrong with us. It's not wrong, it's a difference.
It's difficult. Sometimes the language isn't there, I think. What we're trying to describe, language is an issue, isn't it? To try and find the right words
Certainly,
to use.
I mean, this is a perfect example, really.
Yeah.
I'm not being facetious by saying that, because I'm struggling to, as I do sometimes, it's all in my head. I know exactly what I want to say, but it just doesn't really come out very easily. And how on earth can I expect somebody I'm talking to be able to pick up what I'm saying when I'm struggling to get it there in some sort of way, form that they can understand?
Absolutely, and there is. I find there's all fluctuation with my dyspraxia sometimes, and exactly the same as how you feel, Barbara. But my verbal skills, I like to think that I've got good thinking skills, good critical thinking skills, but my ability to then communicate what's going on in my head by not stuttering and just speaking it and with confidence is a real difficulty. And it depends on almost the day of the week, doesn't it? Sometimes, how we've woken up that morning.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, that's probably one of the most frustrating things about it, because I'm no stranger to public speaking, believe it or not, and it's something I actually enjoy doing. But on a day like today, for example, when I am really having a problem getting my thoughts out there, so it's frustrating enough when you try to get your thoughts down on paper, but it can be equally difficult to just verbalise them.
I always think the difference between kind of writing it, say, in a blog or whatever, and kind of doing it in a vlog like this is, I mean, there are a few kind of takes of this, and some of which you may see, but with a blog, for example, when I'm writing, well, both of us are writing things, you can edit it to your heart's content until you're ready for it to be seen by the world.
Certainly. Yeah.
Certainly here, in our kind of natural state, as it were, when you're hearing us speak and thinking about what we're communicating and how we're trying to present our arguments and who we are, it can be very difficult to kind of elucidate that in a kind of coherent manner.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and I think sometimes then that does inform the reaction we get from other people.
Yes.
Sometimes, and I hate to say it like this, but it can sometimes border on, not very often, not all the time, I will say this, but on rare occasions can be seen as kind of patronising. People can almost assume, because of language skills, and we can sometimes struggle, that actually we're not as coherently able to think as we are.
Certainly, we're not as intelligent as we are,
and certainly I'm not describing that very well, so hopefully you can understand kind of even there what I'm trying to say. But
well, if there's something I really cannot bear, it's being patronised. I do feel really strongly about that. And I mean, there is a story I can tell actually of something that happened some years ago. It's not directly related to dyspraxia, I have to say, but it
does showcase the point, I think, with
it does, about being patronised and how people's attitudes can change from one moment to the next in this case, because it was many years ago when I was working with a friend of mine. We were working in a small group home where 4 people had moved out of the long-stay hospital into the community. It was one of the first care in the community houses, if you like, and we were very lucky because the health authority we were working for at the time, it was their flagship, so anything we needed for the house we would just ask for it, anything we needed from the residents who lived there, and it was basically given to us because they really wanted it to succeed. And sometimes that went a little bit too far, so we were in a situation one day when my colleague and myself were in the house alone, because the 4 people who actually lived there were all out doing their own thing, and we'd been rotated on to have 2 of us in the house on our own. Excuse me. And the doorbell rang. We went to the door, or one of us went to the door, and there was a woman there who, I can't even remember what she was doing now.
Was it like a questionnaire or something?
It was something like that, yeah, it was something like that.
I wasn't there, I should say, just by the time of the story earlier today.
Exactly. But she came around and she said, "Is the head, may I speak to the head of the household?" So we were a bit kind of cagey about it, I suppose, because there wasn't a head of the household as such. It was a group home, and so it was fairly sensitive also, because it was the first one, the first one in the area. So we were a little bit sort of reticent about how to put this across to her in a way that wasn't going to sort of damage the reputation of the house or anything like that. And so eventually we said, well, I said to her, well, actually the situation is there are 4 people living in the house who've come out of the long stay hospital and they've moved into the community. So she suddenly changed and she said, "Oh, can I smell cakes that you're cooking? How wonderful for you." And she was so patronising, because she obviously assumed that my colleague and I were 2 of the residents of the house, which was really awful. But I mean, we found it hilariously funny at the time, but reflecting on it, it really wasn't, because her attitude changed totally as soon as she thought that that I had some sort of disability, which I did, of course, but at that time I had no idea I was dyspraxic. So
and it wasn't related to the home that you were looking after anyway.
No,
and that's so insulting, isn't it? I mean, I have had it. I get quite passionate about it. So I promised Barbara earlier that I wouldn't get my soapbox about this when we did this talk.
Be my guest. Go for
I
it.
promise I won't. But it is frustrating, because I suppose it's that it kind of does tie into this, the issue of disclosure, because for me, I have dyspraxia. I'm part of the Two Dyspraxics, so my dyspraxia is kind of fairly well known because of the work that we're doing together. And Barbara, your dyspraxia is well known for the same reason.
Yeah.
It hasn't defined me. My dyspraxia isn't the be all and end all of my life. However, it informs the way I live. But also, I have to choose when to disclose my dyspraxia to people that, shock horror, may not have seen these videos, and I fail to believe there's many people out there who haven't seen our videos before now. I'm sure we've got worldwide acclaim. I wish we had kind of a worldwide kind of acclaim, only to kind of promote dyspraxia for no other reason. But anyway, and there are occasions where people won't know that I have what is classed as a disability, and there are occasions where I won't want necessarily to disclose it, because on one hand, why should I have to? I am in a luxurious position where my disability isn't immediately obvious upon meeting someone. Again, I mentioned in the previous vlog about having a physical disability, i.e. being in a wheelchair. There's no escaping that person has a disability. Barbara and I could, if we wished to, and we worked hard at it, pass for neuro-typical some of the time.
Depending on the circumstances.
Absolutely,
we can do so fairly easily, I think.
Oh, absolutely. And that's a very kind of catch-all term, but there are occasions where we can't. However, so there are occasions where we need to make people aware of our dyspraxia in order to, in no way get special treatment, but to get better understanding and an appreciation that we might need to do things in a slightly different way. However, as a result of that, there have been occasions, certainly in my life, where as a result of disclosing my dyspraxia to, in one case, an employer, this is many years ago, by no means current, many years ago, as a result of me disclosing my dyspraxia to my employer, I was treated differently. All I wanted was to be treated the same, and by the same I mean given the opportunity to perform at the same level as everyone else by having a slightly adjusted working pattern for a couple of issues. And unfortunately what happened was that I was in fact treated worse because I was seen as having a disability. I ended up resigning from the job because I felt so unhappy there, because I was being defined as dyspraxic. And it goes back to that communication issue again. I was being communicated with in a way that did not suit me. At the time I think I was about 20 at the time. I was a 20-year-old intelligent male, no better, no worse than anyone else that were my peers, that are my peers. I was able to do the job equally as well, but just needing some minor adjustments. But instead, I was talked down to. I was patronised as a result, and my confidence was shot to hell as a result. For many years, I didn't feel confident to be able to tackle a more complicated, complex job because I didn't think I was able to do it because I've been dealt with and spoken to or talked at rather than to, and invited to participate rather than just given instructions as if I was, pardon the expression, a trained chimp. And that's sometimes how I felt. I was almost a curiosity, and the fact that sometimes I ticked a box. Yeah. I was the token disabled member of staff in order to fill a quota. Well, we're not a quota. We are human beings, and just because we have a disability doesn't mean that we can't contribute. However, some people won't wish to reveal their dyspraxia to an employer, to a friend, to a loved one because of the fear of how they're going to be communicated with. That is, and it's a big thing. I was sort of psychologically scarred for years by that. I after that incident, I refused to disclose my dyspraxia to anyone. I wouldn't talk about it, even to my family, to my parents, nobody. To employers, if I was doing exams, I wouldn't acknowledge it at all. And I feel that's such a shame, and I do get angry about it for other people because I hate seeing other people going through that process. Barbara, I promised I wouldn't get on my soapbox, and I did. And I'm sorry, but okay. I get passionate about that.
Well, absolutely. I think it's right that you should get passionate about it as well because it's something that means a great deal to you. And,
absolutely, and I think it's true to any dyspraxic person because you want to be part of society, but how sometimes you're treated and communicated with sometimes can get frustrating. It's skewed, absolutely. And it's not all the time, and we both have had experiences that have been wonderful. We've been treated brilliantly by some people,
Yeah, I think it really comes down to dyspraxia awareness again, because if people have a good understanding of dyspraxia, and in my experience, that's generally other people who are dyspraxic for a start.
Absolutely.
But those who don't and are really willing to learn and to understand as much as they can, I find can be, it's just like talking to another person, which is exactly how it should be. And I mean, I was very fortunate or I have been very fortunate in my working life because I didn't know I was dyspraxic until, let me see. I don't think whenever I've been employed by someone else, I didn't realise I was dyspraxic, so I really had no option. The option of disclosing it wasn't there for me. But I've had some sort of quite important job. All jobs are important, but
responsible.
Yeah,
jobs.
Responsible jobs, and sort of management jobs where I've found that I've been perfectly capable of carrying out my job with absolutely no problem at all. Thoroughly enjoyed it, depending on the kind of support I've had, and that support, as far as I'm concerned, does not come from above. That's not supportive. It comes from underneath. So that means that I had an excellent PA where I worked in my last job, which was running a local branch of a national charity, and that was just amazing because it allowed me to not worry about the organisation and the remembering to file things and stuff like that, because I had somebody who was just fantastic, and she was just brilliant. She did my thinking for me, basically. I did because I had no qualms at all about negotiating with people for funding and that sort of thing, so I was quite happy to do that. I've got plenty of brass neck when it comes to that sort of thing, so that was okay. I was doing the things that I enjoyed and the things I was good at, and she became a really good friend, actually. The PA who was working with me, I wouldn't say for me because I couldn't have done it without her. That's the truth of it. But we used to have management committee meetings, and she would go out and get the tea and the coffee and everything, and she'd come back and she'd say, right, I've got those biscuits because they're the chairman's favourite, and I've got those for somebody else. And I thought, God, if that was left up to me, they'd be lucky to get tea and coffee. So
yeah, absolutely.
I just wouldn't have thought of it. It's just, we were both doing sort of quite different things, but her role was so supportive of mine. And
I think doesn't that prove that when you have good communication and good empathy and sympathy from other people that kind of just get it without living it,
yeah,
it's wonderful.
Precisely.
it's such a wonderful feeling.
I think it's a lot to do with finding the right people as well, because certainly as far as she was concerned, she didn't know I was dyspraxic. I didn't know I was dyspraxic, so
No.
obviously she didn't. But she saw her role as being supportive, and she genuinely was.
Yeah.
So I think if you have people who are genuinely understanding of what support is, because I think that's probably something a lot of people have a misconception of, that support isn't okay, well, you know, we'll inflict something on you and that can,
Yeah.
you know, and then you've got no excuse for not doing your job. You know, it's support is a concept I think probably a lot of people don't really get. They don't really understand exactly what being supportive is. And
it's going back to this whole theme we've been talking about today, but the concept of actually a dyspraxic person can be as contributive, if that's even a word.
Yeah.
It can contribute just as much as a non-dyspraxic person, just with some adaptations or a few tweaks or whatever it may be that we need. We're not asking for a complete overhaul of the system, you know, just some kind of understanding of that. What is that understanding? I don't know if we can kind of put it into words. The important thing is, perhaps, it's like you say in your training, ask the person. You know, if you've got a dyspraxic person not working for you, ask them. You know, ask them what they need to do their job. You know, and you'll be surprised. I'm talking to kind of potential employers now. You'll be surprised at how much more you will get, how much more loyalty and work you'll get out of a dyspraxic person. So if you just say to them, "What can I do? How can I support you and help you and listen to the answer? Not just pay lip service to it, but listen to it."
And also be prepared to allow a dyspraxic person a fair amount of responsibility, because I don't know about you, but I thrive on that personally.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people do. It's the acceptance in some areas that people who have dyspraxia have average to above average intelligence, but without actually putting that knowledge into practice. You know, so by patronising us and isn't that marvellous? You've done a lovely piece of work here.
Well done.
Please.
Well done. Good for you.
Yeah,
Good
that's
for
it,
you.
practice on the head. It doesn't work.
No.
It doesn't work with me.
No,
I
same
really
here.
don't like that at all. So.
At the time of recording this vlog, I'm 31 years old, so it's kind of 11 years now since I experienced that quite awful situation I had, and I mean, my confidence has grown. I can talk for England. I have, like Barbara, I have a lot of brass neck now. I have no problems with negotiation, with dealing with difficult situations. But it's because I've been fortunate to have quite a few supportive colleagues in subsequent jobs who actually, piece by piece, built my confidence up and actually showed me that some employers were worthy of trust, and that I could trust them, and that it was okay for me to declare my dyspraxia on some occasions because they wouldn't treat me negatively as a result. That actually my dyspraxia wasn't an issue.
Yeah.
You know, they'd adapt to it, they'd make some tweaks to the working environment, and then forget about it. And that is, to me, I don't know about you, Bob, but to me that is the ideal. You know, make some adaptations, deal with it, and then never mention it again.
And then you're just people communicating with other people.
Yeah,
and
you're just part of the team.
Yeah.
You know, but if you've got a dyspraxic person working for you and you want to know how to deal with them, ask them, talk to them, and listen. Have it as a two-way dialogue. You know, don't pay lip service to it.
Right, and also accept that we are on the same level.
Yeah.
You know, we're not.
We're equals.
Somebody's up there and somebody else is down there. Because that just isn't the case.
Yeah, absolutely.
We are equals no matter what.
I think we've put the world to rights by this, haven't we? This is good. No, I'm conscious of the time, so we probably better kind of if we had a director, and we don't have a director, he'd be kind of doing this motion, like wrap it up, wrap it up.
We'd say no, we haven't finished.
No,
yet.
we have got a lot more we could talk about this, I think, haven't we? But
yeah, definitely.
I suspect this is a regular theme we'll come back to in future vlogs somehow.
So. It's mainly been about being patronised.
Yeah, absolutely, and just being treated equally. You know, we are equals.
That's what we want. And also, as ever, if you have any comments that you'd like to leave, there-ish, underneath the video.
I thought you were saying underneath the arches for a minute.
I could have done that.
Yeah.
About that. Next time.
Next time.
if you're not lucky.
Yeah.
But no, if you have any comments that you'd like to leave, we'd be very, very interested to read them. and incorporate them into the next vlogs.
Thank you for your time, and we will speak to you again soon. Bye bye.
Bye.